Let me tell you, Felix, that it's important because I will tell you that any student who attends a national school has 85% chance of joining a university. In other words, I'm telling you that 85% of all students who go to a national school go to university. Only 10% of students who go to a day school have a chance to go to university. So when we find a child who has gone to a day school in some rural place, we give them a leg up, because it means they have to work extra hard to be able to attain the same grades. Because in many of those institutions, as I told you, Felix, they don't have laboratories. Many of them have very inadequate number of teachers. And that is the real problem. So some of these parameters may look small, but they mean a lot in terms of the students. Let me also tell you that, and this is something that really, you know, I know, I don't know how to put it, but only 10% of the children of the poor make it to university. It is very serious. It is something that depresses me. Yeah? Because number one, they cannot afford to go to a national school. They cannot afford to go to a private school. Many of them hardly, you know, they end up in a day school somewhere at home. So this is one hell of a conversation we must have. We cannot continue as a nation to have an education system that shuts out millions of the children of the poor. I don't know how to put it. It's as blunt as that. If you look at the curve of students in our universities, the children of the poor are absent. They are the ones in those 3,500 secondary schools that don't have teachers, they don't have laboratories, they are day schools, they are in those areas. It is the reason why I have asked the Ministry of Education. I am putting 3 billion shillings in Nairobi to build 5,000 classrooms, because Nairobi slums are the worst. Those are the children of the poor. They never go to school, and they are in the city here. P.S., you know that. I have discussed this with the governor of Nairobi. I have discussed this with the MPs of Nairobi. And so many other areas. We need a lot of affirmative action. So, Ochieng, to your point, it is because of that realization that some of the parameters we are using, you know, a child that has gone to a bridge school in Kibra or some school in Lokichogio, you know, it is something for us to consider when we are looking at how to place them. So we will continue to improve on the model. We are not saying the model is perfect, but I think to a great extent it is towards 95% in the right direction, and we will keep improving on it. Mongaro Richard, you have told me that by the end of your 4th year, your loan will be something like 240,000, right? And you are asking me, what will the new guys, what will be their loan after 4 years? It's going to depend on the course that they are pursuing. Let me tell you, Richard, you know, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. The old model, the differentiated unit model, assumed that all courses were the same. And a course in medicine costs the same as another course in a different subject. The reality is that it is not. University chancellors are here. Vice chancellors are here. I don't know whether university vice chancellors are here. Who is willing to tell us that there is a difference? Yeah? Yeah, they are here. There is a difference. And this model recognizes, this new model recognizes that a course in medicine costs 600,000 to train. A course in education costs 180,000 to train. And therefore, for a student doing medicine, Government of Kenya gives more for the student doing medicine as a percentage, because it costs more to train that student. And if we don't give more to train that student, we will end up with a student with a graduate who is half-baked, because we didn't give them the resources to train the student correctly. That is the difference between this model and the other one. So there is every reason why we have to interrogate this model. Let me ask, any vice chancellor who is willing to tell us, you know, don't worry about kusalimiwa. Sisi wengine tumezoea kusalimiwa kila siku. But you know, the truth is the truth. It cannot be changed. I want a vice chancellor who is here to volunteer. Yeah? On, yes, Mwalimu, and you say which college you?
Your Excellency, I happen to be the Vice Chancellor of Alupe University. Also previously a member of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, and a member of the party that recommended this model. And we agreed. Which
you know, let's listen. You know, we are intellectuals.
Yeah.
You know, and intellectuals, you listen to reason.
Yeah.
You know, we are not a mob. We are people who want to reason. And I like what Junior here, Kisero, he said. He said, we want to listen, we want to challenge, you know, and we want to be part of the solution. So let us listen. And you can challenge what the professor is saying the same way you are challenging what I'm saying. I mean, it's the right thing for intellectuals. Professor.
Your Excellency, I'm going to pick on a course in my university, which we are beginning in September, and that is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. A Bachelor of Science in Nursing, in preparation for that program, we've had to spend almost 3.8 million to prepare equipment for nursing, even before we start. It's not the same as preparing students for teacher education, where I need the 4 walls, I need a micro-teaching lab, which does not cost even a quarter of what it will cost me to prepare a nurse. And indeed, the skills lab for nursing alone, even when Q was telling me I'm ready, they have still been given other things to buy, are going to cost me 1.67 million. So preparing a nurse is very expensive. And so we cannot have the same cost for preparing a teacher, preparing a doctor, preparing a lawyer, like the differentiated unit cost was doing. Indeed, colleagues and our students who are here, some of our universities were paying us 60% of our salaries using the old model. But right now, if I am able to get the correct banding for my students, Your Excellency, I'll be able to support even capital development within my institution within the next 2 years. And that is the truth of the matter. I will not have to beg for money and ask for money and wait for capitation. But I do take on board your concerns about the correct banding, so that there is a normal curve depending on how we deal with our students. So, Your Excellency, I will say all courses don't cost the same. And our students should appreciate that if we get this money and we don't do our best with that money, then we are responsible for what is going to happen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. Richard also said maybe there is a problem with the mode of implementation. Maybe there are good ideas, but there is a problem with the mode of implementation. Richard, let me take you back a bit, if you allow me. I have had occasion to sort out 2 other problems like this one in our education sector. When I became Minister for Higher Education, for 19 years, students had to wait for 2 years before you can join university. And nobody wanted to sort it out because it was difficult. Every minister dodged, danced around it, because people don't want to solve problems. It is easy to color problems. Oh, we have a big problem. Talk about the problem. Explain the problem. So, but it's difficult. It's okay for people to talk about the problems. I see many people. There is this problem. The students are being placed in the wrong band. This model is not good. But I have tremendous respect for the people who have ideas on how to solve the problem, on how to come up with solutions. Yeah? So, I sorted out the problem of university students having to wait for 2 years. It was difficult. I was called names. People said I was going to destroy the education system. But we were incurring huge losses. A student finishing Form 4 and waiting for 2 years, many of them, by the time they were going to university, many of them had dropped out. Others had gone to pursue other things. Some of the girls had gotten pregnant. And it was just chaos. So I took it upon myself and drove a program that eventually, in 1.5 years, we sorted out the problem. Number 2, we had a big issue, a big conversation, as I told you earlier, about education and the absence of technical education in our system. I took it upon myself, and I am very proud today that from 30,000 students in our TVET, we today have 700,000 students, and we don't have a skills gap that existed before. Again, it took a lot of courage. This too is one such challenge. I'm asking you guys, let us solve it together, the way Junior here said. And we can do it. Together. We can do it. So, let me combine what, before I come to melody on lead disbursement, let me go with what Kisero Jr. Otieno said. He said, what was wrong with the old model? Yeah? Number one. Number two, why don't we amend the old model? Yeah? And number three, why don't we do it together? Junior, let me call you that. You're so right. I will tell you what was wrong with the old model. And then I will tell you what we are doing with the new model and how we can do it together. I don't know even whether it is me to say what was wrong with the old model. The old model was almost destroying our education. Because, number one, it assumed that all the courses were the same. Number one. It also assumed that government had the money to pay 80% for everybody, when it did not. And the results were disastrous. Scott Theological College, a university, closed down because of the old model. Many universities here, when I came into office, because of the old model, 23 out of 40 public universities were bankrupt. And if you are going to a university that is bankrupt, explain to me what kind of education you are going to get from a university that is bankrupt. Friends. And are there university chancellors here, vice chancellors here who know how serious that is? What was the situation? Yeah? Are they here? Vice chancellors, say many. You know, if the old model was working, tell these students the old model was good, and you know, let's go back to the old model. Yeah. So the vice chancellors are here. Any vice chancellor want to tell us? Yes. Who? This lady here, or? Oh yeah, here from Embu University.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I want to say that, indeed, as you've seen, the old model was killing our universities. And I stand here on behalf of all the universities because I'm the chairman of the Vice Chancellor's Forum, and therefore I can talk on that mandate. And I would want to say, as of June 2023, 23 out of the 40 universities were technically insolvent. And the round one of this model, which we just started last year, has been able to get many of those universities out of that pit. And we have done simulations, and we have seen in 3 years' time, in 3 to 4 years' time, all the universities will have a turnaround, and we all stop being insolvent. And therefore, I would want to say, as Vice Chancellors, Your Excellency, we support this model because it's a model that we see is going to turn us around. For example, I would want to say University of Embu is one of those that would have been otherwise technically insolvent. In fact, in that list, I'm number 17. But I can say, as of now, we are in the positive. And it's only one round. We owned our lecturers. Because of the old model, when we raised the CMBAs, we could not be able to pay the new salaries. And we owed our lecturers and our staff members arrears for 2 years. And because of this new model, last June, May and June, we were able to pay those arrears for 2 years. So right now, University of Mutembei is clean. We owe nobody nothing. So it's a model, Your Excellency, we want to support, because you could draw a line, and we would have told you when all the universities will be technically insolvent in this country. But we know now that there is a turnaround, and we are going to get out of there. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Let me say this, my friend Junior. The model, the student-centered model, is actually an improvement. In your own words, you said, why don't we improve? Why don't we take the old model and make it better? This is exactly what we are doing. The household contribution was there. It is there in this model. The scholarship was there. It is there in this model. The loan was there. It is there in this model. The only difference we are making is that we are looking at how do we make children from vulnerable families, how do we assist them? How do we make sure that when we send students to a university, we also give the university resources to make sure they teach the course for which they have admitted the student? It is true. I mean, it is a fact that it doesn't cost the same to teach one course as against the other. And this funding model is sensitive to that. It is also sensitive to students who come from vulnerable families. I know I have been accused, correctly, that I sometimes think too much about poor people, and I push, the rich people to do things for the poor ones. But I mean, that is society. You I don't know how to put it. But anyway, that's that. So, you have just told me, Junior, that among the universities that we owe a lot of money is KEMU, your university, right? Do you know why we owe KEMU a lot of money? It's because of the old model, which you are telling me, let us go back to the old model. How will KEMU get out of the hole? If we continue with the old model, it means KEMU continues to accumulate debt. Friend, let us deal with this as openly, as transparently as possible. The vice chancellors who are sitting here are not madmen and women. For them to agree for us to work with this model. They've seen what happens with the old model. They participated. We worked with them. We worked on simulations. We brought in experts to look at, because the one thing we cannot do is to compromise on the quality of our education. The old model is compromising on the quality of our education, because if lecturers are not paid, if material is not available to train our doctors, if workshops are not working to train our engineers, we will end up with the wrong engineers, we will end up with the wrong doctors, we will end up with the wrong teachers, and we will destroy our country. It will be very reckless of us. It will be very irresponsible of us. Me as president, these vice chancellors as managers of our universities, you as students, for us to accept, to walk a path that leads to the destruction of our country and our education, for that matter. Melody has said, Njeri has said, late disbursement. I agree with you. That is part of what brought us to this very unfortunate situation. The reason why we put together this new funding model is so that we are clear on what our requirements are. And I have made a deliberate decision that I'm going to invest more money in education. Because if we don't get education right, we will get nothing right. Because everything will go wrong. And I don't want to throw money at a problem. I want us to invest money in a plan that is well thought out, because I would have just decided to put money. But you put money in a model that's not working, you don't solve nothing. It is the reason why I invested a lot of time, I brought in a lot of professionals, and I'm willing, just the same way, Junior, you said, bring forward ideas. Let us look at this model again. If there is any improvements we can make, if the student body can come up with improvements, let us subject it to scientific evidence, and let us see how we can improve on it. The improvement is what we are doing. We are improving on the model that was to make it better. Njeri, we have taken time this time round to make sure that as we implement this model, it is tied to our financial resources. We have clearly identified how much money we need. You know, we based the old model on assumptions, which assumptions were wrong and almost collapsed our education system. This time round, we are using empirical figures. That's why we are feeding them into our budget, so that we give the universities the money that is enough to teach every student for the course that they have been admitted. It is not necessary for us to tell a university, teach for us this doctor, and we have given them money enough to teach a teacher. It is not right, because they will not do it. And if they do it, we will end up with a half-baked graduate. Brian Waka, usalama. Umesema ya kwamba pale university mnataka usalama. Na nakubaliana na wewe 100%. Sasa sijui makarao nikituma hawa pale, si mtawashughulikia kweli? I agree with you that sometimes the security situation in some of our universities is wanting, and it is a conversation I can have with the vice chancellors. If the vice chancellors can give us details of where they need support to make sure that our universities are safe, we are prepared to have that conversation. And if the student body can work with the vice chancellors and work with us so that we can identify areas that we can improve security in our colleges, that would be a good thing. I agree with you that an active student body that is representative of the student views and interest is necessary and is important. And I support the democratization of university leadership so that they can better represent the student body. You have also asked me whether I can establish a mechanism where I can directly listen to some of your views. I am happy to do that. If you can tell me what mechanism you want to use to engage with me. I think I have tried to engage with some of the university student leadership. Just make sure that when you come with that leadership that will engage with me, wasiende kusalimiwa, kwa sababu sasa wanaenda kuteswa. So we can have that conversation. I think those are the issues so far. I can take another round of, I think the lady here is, or there is a gentleman there, maybe, or the lady. Okay, the lady here.
Thank you, His Excellency. My name is Marceline Mungesi from Murang'a University. And mine is a suggestion and not a question. We have funds allocated to the constituencies to provide bursaries in the constituency level. Why can't these funds be given to help to increase the scholarship part and reduce the loans given to the students? Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is
Yes,
a gentleman
excuse me,
there.
sir.
Maybe we can.
A minute.
Okay.
Viva comrades,
Yes.
viva. Viva comrades, viva. I am Gishangi Gitonga, the JCOT Secretary General. And Mr. President, for the entire time I was sitting on this seat, it was becoming hotter and hotter for the simple reason that by every minute I'm receiving phone calls, because before I came here, I engaged my people from JCOT and they told me if I did not tell you the truth, they would impeach me. So allow me to be as candid with you as possible. Mr. President, my first question, and one of the biggest questions my people have been asking me, is why the rush? Why the rush in implementing a model that has a lot of technicalities? Why the rush? Because I am a financial engineer, and as you have said, the issue of the interest rates is determined by actuarial scientists. But the model in itself has a lot of issues up to this moment. So even if we had all these issues coupled together, you've given a lot of sad stories of people not making it to campuses such as the Scott Bible Institute being closed. But Mr. President, we have a lot of people being affected right now. While we were at Naivasha, Mr. President, once we left, we felt like rubber stamps. Naongea ukweli, comrades. For the simple reason that after that, a report was given in Naivasha. We had a summit in Naivasha around June. And the report that came out is that we had agreed to the model. And our comrades were really angry with us, Mr. President. So we felt at that point like we were being set up. Like what we are telling the people is just for formalities. And we have spoken in a lot of forums, Mr. President, but I believe you have already noticed that people are not clapping much to even the best of points, because there's a general tiresome. There's a general exhaustion among the people, because we are usually given a lot of promises. We will come to forums such as this, but we know that very little of it will be implemented. And Mr. President, we also know that corruption is the biggest public expenditure. And before you came into office, there were people you came into office with who had corruption scandals. But once they got into office, they became suddenly people of integrity. And Mr. President, in as much as we are discussing education, we know that the help decries of you've even told us, and it's also something I take issue with. While we were with you at State House, you told us that the debt was around 70 billion or there was a time you told us 70 billion. A time came you told us private universities have 51 billion. And today you said 180 billion. And as a financial engineer, I'm finding it a little bit hard to reconcile all these figures, Mr. President. So you could also state it a bit more clearly over that. But the HELB and the PS of Education has told us severally that the public institutions had debts and all such kinds of stuff. But we have seen exposés on Twitter, exposés by the Auditor General, telling us that a chair somewhere cost 3.3 million, Mr. President. I will not rush to criticize anything of the sort, but you know that corruption is a big expenditure in this country. What is your administration doing to ensure that corruption ends in public institutions? Mr. President, you are using 9 beaters to classify people. Once again, I'm a financial engineer and I take keen interest in numbers. You use 9 factors to classify people. Now explain this to me. we have a parent earning 25,000 shillings. And the firstborn has made it to JKUAT to do financial engineering. But this family has 7 people. It has 6 siblings under the person who has made it to financial engineering. So, under what category does this person fall? Let's even say it's 50,000. This person lives in the CBD at a place where the life is very expensive. So, under what category does this person fall? Or will we have the same thing repeating itself of that girl who was looking at the people with graduation gowns? Because the firstborn, yes, made it to campus, and they found a new funding model, and they appealed because they were placed in band 5. But unfortunately, as you've heard, we have, let me confirm the numbers, we have 26,000 appeals. And also as a financial engineer, I know that not all appeals usually go through as they ought to because of the system glitches. Mr. President, kindly explain to me where this person should land, because among the 9 beaters, the issue of the siblings and probably the dependents around that family, because some of these families adopt people not because they have too much, but because they have compassion on the people in the society who the government is unable or unwilling to help. Mr. President, we also have the issue of a defunct KUSO. And Mr. President, I love what the gentleman who has spoken in Swahili. I must first commend him because of the perfect grammar. Of the issue of, I do not know if you know anyone who represents other campus students. Because, comrades, do you know anyone who represents you? Do you have anyone? So, Mr. President, I would like to urge you to probably constitute something that will even be recognized by the government, because as students we have been crying, as student leaders we have been crying for a very long time of people who are there to just by themselves cast, Mr. President, people who are there not to represent our will, but they are own, people who are there for their own stomachs. And these are the people who you are striking against. Mr. President, people in this room are angry because of 2 people. One, it is you. I've told you I'll be impeached if I do not tell you the truth. My constituents told me that they feel, and I will put this as respectfully as possible, that you advise your advisors. Because of the issues, for example, let's say the issue of the new funding model. Mr. President, the only person who has explained the new funding model in the best way is you. So my constituents were asking me, as in, shouldn't the people in charge of that ministry be able to put it better than the president himself? The other person that the comrades are very angry with is in this room, seated somewhere in front, Mr. President, somebody who has been claiming to represent our interests. But, comrades, does that person represent your interests? Does that person represent your interests? So, Mr. President, if anyone comes to you claiming, Mr. President, the comrades are telling me to tell him to walk out, but we are here for peace, Mr. President. So I would want to put it as straight as possible and to be as brief as a cock on a hen. Mr. President, as things stand, we do not have a representative. Ukweli ama uongo? We do not have a representative unless you enable us have some permanent office to ensure that student leaders are represented, and you ensure that, unlike the many government offices we have today, the government will not interfere with the affairs of the students. Mr. President, the lady there has raised an important issue. First, the questions that are here, most of them have been raised by the people around me because they've realized that you might not have a lot of time to speak. Somebody named Karongo Adangwa, the senator of Kiambu County, and by the way, God willing, I will replace him, raised the point of all these monies being brought to one pool. The MC has a bursary, the woman rep has a bursary. Probably, if it was not for a very little chance, the chief might be having a bursary. Mr. President, the entire structure that represents us, and by the way, we also feel overrepresented as Kenyans, and that is one of the reasons we are demonstrating, Mr. President. We have 22 CSS, we have CASs, we have permanent secretaries, and all these people have budgets and they have salaries, but I'll put that aside, Mr. President. So these people have bursaries. And then to get a bursary, you must know somebody in the country that we live in. You've said that you feel for the poor. You've said that you are blamed for feeling for the poor, and somebody opined that we are all politicians and we all got elected through public relations. So, Mr. President, if you really feel for the poor, kindly address that issue. We have been with you in several forums, and you've said that you are not afraid to bite the bullet, to take the bull by its horns. Mr. President, the MPs will disturb you. Just a minute. I've been sent by a lot of people. You have cut my time a lot of times. So, Mr. President, these MPs will bring a lot of issues. Somebody said that once you remove the CDF, people will not be vying for these positions because they go there for their stomachs. Ukweli ama uongo? Mr. President, kindly consider that, because that will be a legacy. And actually, if you are able to do that, Mr. President, in 2027, I will personally have no issue electing you. So, Mr. President, address that issue. And finally, Mr. President, I feel like there are a lot of discrepancies in what in the numbers that you are being given. For example, you've said that the professor from Alupe, who proposed the new funding model, has spoken about the person doing teaching, the other one doing law, the other one doing medicine, paying the same fee. But we are student leaders here and we are students. Is that the truth? No. Under the differentiated unit costing, does a teacher pay the same amount as a doctor? So, Mr. President, we kindly ask that such small things be reconciled, because these are the things that make people strike. Probably in Naivasha, the HELB did a lot of good work, but as I said in the newspaper yesterday, the Daily Nation, you could go through it. I said that you might be doing a lot of good work, but your communication team is very bad. So, Mr. President, for the little good work that you do, ensure that you know. And last but not least, there are students who defer, and also help me on this issue. We have students who deferred in 2022, but they have come back right now. I feel that it will be very unfair for these students to be classified under the new funding model, Mr. President. And they are a lot. And they have sent me with their cries, Mr. President. So I stand here as a representative of my people. Kindly address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. We have taken already two from this side. Let's take, I think the final two from there, and then from here.
My name is Mwangale Agneta Nafuna, Director of Social Affairs and Special Needs, Moi University. Allow me to recognize the presence of my Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanga Koske. One major issue that is really disturbing me while sitting on that seat is that we all know that in this country we have a bigger number of people who are poor. All of us knows that, right? I am very much devastated to hear that only 12% of the whole population of the students in this country are placed in Band 1. If we really, Your Excellency, can do something about this, we can appreciate, because there is no point of giving 12% of the whole population to Band 1 and expect that the other people will just have to appeal. Why would I say this? It's because when giving 12%, you knew very well, or the team knew very well, that you have a lot of poor people in this country. So at least they will have at least given a bigger percentage to these people, and at least consider also those people who are earning maybe middle or who have bigger salaries. I believe that in this meeting where we are seated, we have to be having at least 50% of the whole population placed in either Band 1 or 2. Then the little number of people in this country who at least can acquire what they need in life to be placed in those other bands, at least 50%, so that it can strike a balance. Number two, Your Excellency, as Mongale, I believe that you really wish well for our university. And I know very well that you have the interest of those people who are needy in this society of Kenya at heart. And I would ask this for elaboration kindly. The other day, the directive was given that students will just go join to university, then, like, without even paying anything. Like, let's reason out, how will it be when students are in university? Yes, they have not paid the money, they need services. We have workers, we have lecturers, and all other stakeholders that really need to be paid. Of course, there are basic services that you really need in our university. So, how are the university going to manage this? If I said I only need a clarification. Then, Mr. President, I will also need maybe some explanation on this, the placement. Of course, everybody is saying the funding model is the brilliant thing that has ever happened in this country. But now the problem is its implementation. In a case where, of course, we have parameters to place these students in band 1 to either band 5. But now how is a kid, maybe whose parents have separated informally? Of course, lately we are having a lot of broken marriages and everything. Of course, you can find sometimes even children end up remaining on their own, or maybe staying with their grandparents. As a student, or as this kid, how are they going to present themselves? How are they going to defend themselves when it comes to their placement? Because they don't have anything to show.
Thank you, Magineta. You have asked 3 questions. I think it's only fair that we stop there. Thank you very much. Maybe we can give one more person up mbele, or yeah, maybe this guy at in front here. Yeah.
To His Excellency, Mr. President, all protocols observed. I am Nick Okoth from the Aviation College of Mombasa. My concern towards the new funding model is drawn to the situation whereby you have got twins. They are joining the campus at the same time. But then during the placement, you realize one is placed on band 1, and the other finds herself in band 5. How do we handle such kind of a situation?
Thank you very much. Can I have, maybe we can take 2 from this side, and then we can take 2 from that side. A lady and a gentleman. We have a gentleman right behind there.
Yeah, thank you, Your Excellency, for creating this opportunity. I'm Faustin Wandera from African Nazarene University, and by God's grace, I'm serving as chairperson of the Student Council. Your Excellency, African Nazarene University is a private university. And under this new funding model, we feel discriminated as private universities. I am yet to be convinced, as much as you have explained to us this funding model, because of the following reasons. Maybe you can help me to understand if you answer these 2 questions. If the government decides to offer scholarship to the students to go to private university, is it that the scholarships are being offered to the universities or to the students who are Kenyans and they have a choice to go to the private universities? Number 2, Your Excellency, if I believe the funding model is running, if this model is going forward, then we are being forced as the student leaders in private universities to also find the solution. Just the way you committed to the people of Kenya, I also committed to the students of African Nazarene University that I'll have to make sure that also your needs are met. Your Excellency, if this model goes on, I have a solution. We have a solution which is an initiative. It is called ASOSI, that is African Nazarene Student Organization Scholarship Initiative. Now, as the Student Governing Council, we will be forced to offer the scholarship to the students in the institution. Therefore, I have to ask that under this initiative, kindly, Your Excellency, can I get from you in your capacity 20 million to give scholarships to the students? If yes, Excellency, I can give you a bank account for African Nazarene University right now. You can just send the money there. We will allocate with the team and we will give the report to you. Thank you.
A lady this time round. Let's get a lady.
Hello. Hello. Yes, I'm Teresia Nzisa, and from Taita Taveta University, Special Needs Secretary. Then here mahali hapa mahali nimekaa tulikuwa tumekusanyisha maswali kwa Omar. Then anaezongea juu nimepata mic.
Comrades, wisdom. Comrades, power. Comrades, viva. Vice Chancellors, hi. Your Excellency, I have a few concerns concerning the new funding model and a few things related to the higher education funding. And I'll start right away by talking about the students who do the intra-school transfer. You know, once comrades, the Form 4s, or a student is done with the Form 4 education and therefore the COOPS portal is open for application of the courses and the universities, they are not aware of which courses. They are not aware of maybe which courses to apply for, and therefore they opt for any course. And they believe that on reporting to that university after the placement, they'll get to change their courses. But now this has become a problem, because on changing the programs, the funding, I don't know, the funding board or the government, an example of the 300 students in Pwani University who transferred their courses, and therefore, up to now, their fee has never reflected. And I have a problem with why should the entire cost of the program reflect in a student's portal instead of the household obligation? The household contribution. Now we get to know that the government, due to failure to release the funds to the universities, these students are not able to do their exams. These students cannot access the university services. These students are held back from enjoying the privileges of the university, just as other students. I'd really love to hear you respond to that. Secondly, in Naivasha, with the PS, though she gave you a contrary opinion or conclusion, she told you that we agreed to everything and we said that the model is really working, which was not true. Actually, we told her that for this model, if we have to stick to the new funding model, let us do away with Band 4 and Band 5. Because these are the problematic bands. They are the bands that are creating so many problems to the parents. In Pwani University last week we had students joining, and majority of them came with their parents. So you find that we are helping in the admission process, and the parent is coming thinking that I'm part of the administrators, crying that, oh, my student is placed in band 4, like my net worth is 0. What should I do? Na anatoa machozi. Really, Mr. President, I thought this government is for mama mboga and mtu ya boda boda. So what do we do to search, or rather to help such parents and students? Number 3, you said that if students can propose better ideas to make this model work, then I'm a social scientist. I can offer one. Now that my wise colleague there said that we have so many bursary kits in different dockets, starting from the MCA up to the presidential. Your office also has a bursary. I don't know if that is true, but you know it yourself. So if we can constitute it into one kit and make education completely free, or reduce the cost of programs, that will be very appropriate, and this model will work. Number 2, I asked myself, now who sits back and decides that now this program is going to cost this much? Who? I think the Vice Chancellors and you know better. Do we have a fixed figure that should be the lazima tu cost of the program, for example, medicine should cost this much? So we can reduce, right? So if we have a reduced cost of programs, and let's say, for example, you have those, maybe the impossibility of band 4 and 5 being done away with, now we have band 1, 2 to 5. We have students in band 1 paying nothing, band 2 paying nothing, band 3 paying something, band 4 paying something a little more than those in band 3, and band 5 paying that way this model will work. Mr. President, I can assure you. Thirdly, we've talked about the corruption in the institutions. We have this seat. Mtu akikwambia this seat costs $1 million. That's crazy. We have this thing called a procurement act or procurement something. Like each and everything has to be procured. We have those procurement officers. Those are the sources of corruption. Mr. President, if you have to do something, then start with doing away with those offices. How the hell can we have a seat here costing $1 million when we know the actual price? So can we have the procurement act done away with? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, my friend Omosh. Is that your name? Omosh? Omash? My name is Omar. Omar. Okay, Omar. Thank you. Let's take 2. I am informed that we are running behind time, but I will take 2 more. Yes, my sister.
Okay, Kalen Karemi, the Vice Chair of the East African University. Mine is on what you have said about the private universities. For example, let me give you a case of myself. I studied in the village a day school. Let me recognize the school St. James Kiarida. At that time, when I managed to get a C+ to join the university, but when I was going to apply through the COOPs, my C+ could only admit me to a private university. So you find most people, the cluster point is high for the public universities. And yet, they will be, when they are going to apply, they will be placed in the private universities. And you have said you can't offer the scholarship. Right now, for me to pay the 19,000 that I'm paying in the private university I am, my parents are really struggling. That is for a fact. What if that parent of that student in the same case as mine, who is in a day school, is going to pay the same 80,000, 90,000? With that student manage, that the student can't manage, because the cluster point for the public university are that high. So what are you going to do about the cluster point? And then I'll go to question on the burden. We say, for example, a Maasai who stays at Narok. That person owns 100 cows. When I'm going to apply for that as a where I studied in a day school. I'll be placed in band 1. Under 100, you sell that cow for 50,000. The net worth of that person is 5 million. And that person will be placed in band 1. Reason being, the person is from the Maasai. They are known for those people who doesn't have, sorry to say that. Sorry to say that. And yet, that person, when that person doesn't have a KRA to feel about the parent when applying for the help or whatever, and yet that person net worth is 5 million. And that person will be placed at band 1. And then there's a case, someone from JQuad said that person is earning 25K. Are we fair on that? Yes, that is my question. On the cluster point and the...
Thank you. Thank you, Karemi. I think we give this chance to a gentleman.
Thank you so much. I'm Vincent Tarus, the president Moi University, and I'm also a finalist doing medicine and surgery. Okay, thank you so much. Number one, Mr. President, I'm really not happy at how we were discussing figures of expensive courses. Yes, it's true that the government is paying a lot for students doing the expensive courses, but we also have to look at it from the student side. And these are the figures. I'm going to use figures for a student doing dentistry. And of course, with these figures, you could estimate those who are doing medicine, engineering, and all those expensive courses. A student in band 1, the one who is very vulnerable, is going to pay 39,000 shillings. Remember that at the moment, we are paying less than that. We are paying 32,000, 33 up to 40, and now a student in band 1 is going to pay 39,000. My cue, the conception of the new funding model is on the basis of assisting the poor. Number 2, a student in band 2 is going to pay 78,000 shillings. A student in band 3 is going to pay 156,000. A student in band 4 is going to pay 234,000. And a student in band 5, 312,000. Now, already we can see and have the impression that expensive courses, or rather, the courses that are expensive to offer will only be for the rich. Because we can all agree that a student in band 2, band 1, band 3, and band 4, they are all poor. Now, who are going to afford these courses? Mr. President, when we had a meeting at State House, you said that you're going to put a ceiling over which the vulnerable are going to pay. Yes, that is only going to sort those who are in band 1. I'm assuming it will be way less than 39,000. Now we have sorted those ones. What about the majority? Because, Mr. President, the majority of students are in band 4 with a figure of 47%. If I can use figures of last year's group. These are the figures I got from HELB, that of 113,000 students who applied, 47% are in band 4. And I can use as a case in my school, Mr. President. We have students who, up to now, they were just allowed to do the exam without paying fees. But really, the truth is, they won't be able to pay these fees come end of year examinations. And what will be the fate of schools that we are so much trying to salvage? We are going to have so many dropouts, Mr. President. And these figures I'm using is for the School of Dentistry. Now we have the School of Engineering and the School of Medicine, the School of Nursing, I thank you, Professor, for the figures, but the figures are too high, and this dream is only going to be for the rich. Now, Mr. President, because we value consultation, I'm going to propose an affirmative action that we have to scrap off the idea that these courses are for the rich. If these courses were for the rich, Mr. President, I don't think you'll be standing there where you are right now. And I don't think all these dignitaries will be seated there where they are right now if these courses were for the rich. Now, allow me to propose an affirmative action that we give more scholarship to these courses so that everyone can be able to afford. The children of the peasant farmers, the children of the poor, the mamamboga, that this administration was built in, allow us to have something, allow them an ability to dream of these courses and pursue them. The issue of loans, Mr. President, that has been spoken about enough. The reason why we are rejecting this new funding model, Mr. President, is because we feel the burden of loans on our backs at the moment. I could only imagine those who would join after us and the generations to come. Yes, you said, Mr. President, that it is better to have loans and educated or than not having loans and educated, and not having loans and non-educated. But those are not the two options that we have, Mr. President. We can have a discussion of how we can balance both so that we can come up with a system that values everyone, a system that accommodates everyone. And until then, Mr. President, allow me to reject this new funding model respectfully.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tarus. I don't know. Let me answer those questions. I think they are quite a buffet.
Mr. President, I've been given one last concern. Would you? Okay. It reads.
Yes.
Please, okay. The issue of student independence and admin stepping on student leaders. I think this is addressed to all our vice chancellors, the management of our schools. Kindly allow student leaders to run the activities with the autonomy that they deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tarus. Let me start with Mungezi from Murang'a University. I think, yeah. She suggested that why don't we consolidate all bursaries? The ones for the MCA, Member of Parliament, Women Rep, Governor. Somebody suggested that I have some bursary. I don't have. Just for the record, I don't have any bursary kitty. In fact, when I was Minister for Higher Education, there was a bursary at the ministry. And that bursary used to benefit people who have connection. The CEO of Help then knows. I said that bursary should be transferred. It used to be 100 million shillings every year. I said that bursary should be transferred to Higher Education Loans Board. In fact, it is the money that began the capitation and scholarship for our TVET institutions. I agree with you that it's a positive proposition. It is something that we need to have a conversation about. It is something that I will engage governors about, because in our constitution it is the counties. Once money has been given to the counties, I have no authority as president to decide for the counties. But I think a national conversation that consolidates all these bursaries, and then we see how far it can go towards making our education affordable, is a very positive conversation. I am ready to engage in that conversation and provide leadership in that conversation. My good friend Gishangi from JKUAT has asked me, why the rush? I am tempted to say that, if the situation our universities were in is not serious to warrant us to have this conversation, and by the way, it took 6 months to 8 months of a conversation with different professionals. It was not something that it was over one night or a weekend or a week. It is something that was very clearly thought out. And you said something like, we make promises that we never keep. Let me tell you, this is one commitment I made. The universities are here. The vice chancellors are here. They can tell you the commitments I made on this model were delivered last year, and it is making a difference in our universities. That is the reality. You did say that corruption is a big problem, and I agree with you 100%. Corruption is a big problem. And I want to thank the university leadership, because part of the corruption that has been going on is on even the money that we give to universities. We decided that we are going to go using technology. I'm very happy that the university leaders accepted that we use technology. Unfortunately, our secondary schools and primary schools took us to court. They still want to deal in cash. And I know we lose a lot of money there. Corruption is something we must deal with it firmly. I have made proposals on what we should do as a nation. I have had conversations with the Chief Justice. I have had conversations with the leadership of Parliament on what we need to do on legislation to make sure that we deal with corruption. But we can also, corruption is not just about jailing people. It is about putting systems in place that make sure that corruption doesn't happen. And one of them is to use technology to make sure that we are sure of what we are doing. And that is what this whole system and what we are doing with HELP and what we are doing with COOPs and what we are doing with our universities is all about. I have made it very clear, and I have asked sometimes we investigate an incident or a corruption case, and people rush to court, and we are given an order, you cannot investigate so-and-so. We have situations where we have been told you cannot charge so-and-so. They've gone to court and obtained an order. We must interrogate corruption so that we make sure that we deal with it from all angles. You have given a case of when somebody has 50,000 or earns 50,000 or 25,000, and they have siblings in university. Maybe they have one student in JKUAT, they have another student in another university. Higher Education Loans Board, can you help me explain how do we treat that parent? Mr. Gishangi wants to know what category is that student? Can you help me?
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity. I'm not working for HELP, but I am a member of MTI Task Force and a lecturer at Laikipia University. My name is Dr. Alex Kibet, and I'm going to explain my understanding of this MTI. From the question that was asked was, how do we treat someone who has a lot of dependencies? And from the questions that an applicant is asked is, how many dependents do you have? And the main reason why you're required to give that particular response is so that the MTI can be able to calculate a per capita of that particular household before, which is going to be used as an input for determining your score, and which is going to be used as an input for your final score that determine where you will be banded. And maybe to just say something, Mr. President, as an addition to what you have said. They have indicated, or you have indicated, that there are 10 indicators that show, or that are used, or that work as a variable. There are actually 10 super variables that are used to determine your level of need. But in reality, with each super, there are several other sub-indicators. For example, a family structure, for instance, which is, it has a variable on, you have both parents, you have a single parent, which is a mother, a single parent, which is a father, all the way to someone who is an abandoned child in the street. And all of them are taken care of. So that when all these factors, from the general super variable to sub-variables, the MTI makes sure that you are classified correctly. The only challenge, my President, that we experienced, because I was at least part of the team that analyzed the information, is the quality of information that our applicants provide for that particular system. This is a system that whatever comes out of it depends on what we input. So if we don't provide the correct information, then we're going to be banded wrongly. And because we are coming from a point that this is a new system, one of the recommendations that we gave to HELP and higher education was, please leave a room so that if there is anyone who may have submitted wrong information, can still re-provide an information that can be used for reconsideration. And that is why there is an open appeal for a fund, that if you have a different information from what you presented, you can re-provide and you can be reconsidered. And from the first information you've been given is within the next 3 weeks, that is going to be reconsidered. There's something else again, Mr. President, that I would also wish to state. Is there's something on what if a situation changes in your course of your studies? How are you going to be taken care of? Let's say today you have both parents, and at the second year of your studies, something happens. Again, that is a factor that during our task force we considered and said, if a circumstance change, like your parents, guardian loses job, your parent loses job, you lose parents, you can re-provide the information that please reconsider my banding or my categorization so that I can have a space or be treated where I am supposed to be. There are some other small recommendations that we have suggested to them, and we hope they are going to work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do you have anything useful to add, Mr. Kingori?
No, Your Excellency. I think Dr. Kibet has said it well.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that is the information, Mr. Gishangi. You have also told me that there are people who masquerade as representative of students. And they have come to say we represent. I want to tell you, for the avoidance of any doubt, that any student I have met, they haven't said they represent anybody, at least to me. If they have told other people, I don't know. So I believe that every university has its own representation, right? And I have heard everybody here who has spoken, they have said, I am president of this college, vice president of that college. I have not heard anybody here saying, I am the president of all the universities. Or maybe I didn't, maybe it escaped my thinking, my listening. So I don't think there is anybody who has come to me to say they represent all the students of the universities. And if you are asking me that you want a representative body of all the students, that is a conversation I'm willing to have. And the universities, the leadership of universities should be part of that conversation so that we can all agree what mechanism are we going to use. Are we going to have elections in some form? Because, I mean, we are a democracy. Or how are we going to get a student leadership that represents our universities? That is a conversation that we can have. Somebody has told me, are you the one who said students who differ? There's somebody who told me about students who differ. Yes. So what is the situation of students who differ? I am not, yes, help, Higher Education Laws Bond, can you help me there?
Your Excellency, students who differ, the case of KCSE 2022, were all allowed to apply. So far, we have received 9,979 students from KCSE 2022, and this process is ongoing. So no student has been left behind. Thank you.
Now, has he answered the question? Okay, what is the question? The question is, maybe a student who was already admitted, was in first year, instead of going to second year, they deferred, and then, is that the case? Okay, okay. Which model? Are they coming? Okay, I think what the question is, those ones who you are now considering, are you considering them under the old model or are you considering them under the new model?
They are being considered under the new model.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the model started considering students from KCSE 2022. If you are from the previous years, that is KCSE 2021, 2020, and the previous years, then you fall into the old model.
Thank you very much. Now, my good friend Gishangi says he wants to replace my friend Karungo Dangwa. I wish you well. I know you have said that if I behave well, you might consider your vote for me in 2027. But Mr. Gishangi, I want to tell you that my focus is not in 2027. That's not my focus. My focus is in transforming Kenya. That is my focus. You know, there is always, you know, a belief that we must focus on the next election. Good people, there is more than the next election. We need to do and make the right decisions for Kenya now. If we make decisions merely because we want to be popular, that's how we get ourselves into the kind of situation our country is. That's where we end with our universities in so much debt, because we are unable to make the decisions that will get our universities out of trouble. My sister, younger sister, Agneta, I like the name, by the way. Agneta. She's wondering why is only 12% considered in band 1, when actually majority of the people in Kenya, or a big portion, are poor. You know why, Agneta? Many of the children of the poor don't make it to university. That's the problem. And that's what concerns me. I explained to you, that the most disturbing thing is that the children of the poor are not in this conversation. And that is why, and it really bothers me, that is why I made the decision that I am going to hire the largest number of teachers. I am going to put more money, invest more money in those schools where the children of the poor are, so that we give them an equal chance for them to be part of this conversation. I know it's not a very popular thing, but that's the correct position. That's why I'm going to hire another 20,000 teachers, God willing, by the end of this year. The same way I hired the 56,000, to send them to all these day schools and schools in those rural areas and all those day schools, to make sure that the children of the poor also make it to get to the university, so that they can come and sit here and have this conversation with the rest of us. That's my position. Let me also say the following. You have told me, and I agree, you're very sympathetic to my case, that we have said, let the students be admitted. Let all the students be admitted, even as we sort out the issues of how much they are going to pay, how much the households are going to pay. And we have said that, recognizing that it is something we must do. You have said, how then are the universities going to pay? If the students don't pay, if the households don't pay, how will the universities survive? How will they pay for the essentials? Agneta, we are going to give money to our universities, because we are giving money on scholarships from by government, even as parents sort themselves out as to whether they are in band 1, band 2, band 3, and the appeals and what have you. As that is going on, we are going to support the universities to make sure that the courses and learning continues from the government support that comes as scholarship, and also from our Higher Education Loans Board, and they are here. They are going to be forwarding the money that is on the loans aspects to the universities as well. So that's how we are going to support the universities. You have said something about there are some situations that marriages break, and I think the two gentlemen have already answered that question, that if your situation changes along the way, you are free to bring back your new status so that you can be reconsidered accordingly. Nick Okoth, twins joining university. Higher Education Loans Board, if we have twins joining university, what is the situation?
There was a question when they were filling the form, and they were asked, do you have a sibling joining university or TVET college? And if they said yes, they were supposed to input either the ID or the index number if they were minors.
And And that goes into considering where they are placed.
Yes, because we score them up to 100, and that will give them another 29 points to move towards band 1.
Okay. Faustin Wandera from Nazarene University. You told me that you feel the universities are being... I have tried to explain that the private universities have sponsors, they have endowment funds, they have scholarships from different other avenues, and considering that we also know that there are students there who deserve support from government, we have made the same loans available to students going to public be available also to students in private universities. I'm very happy that you have ideas on how we can make the scholarship work. I am willing to listen to those ideas. I know you have invited me to some form of harambe or something. I think we have since said we should abolish harambes or something. We are on the way there. So, or maybe you are suggesting that some private sponsorship of students in the university. That one, you can take it up with me offline. It cannot be a conversation here. We can have a conversation in another place. Omar, sorry. Omar, it looks like he has left. Oh, you're there. Okay, you put on you put on a different outfit. Intra-school transfers. Omar says there are students who maybe because they are not sure of how things are, they apply for one course, and then when they get to the university, they want to change their courses, and in the process, they get lost somewhere, and their issues are not sorted out. Higher Education Loans Board, again, can you help me with that situation? Why does it take so long when students change courses and they are approved by the universities?
Your Excellency, what would happen is that the list of the students who have transferred will be forwarded to COOPS for validation. And after COOPS validates that they have transferred to a program they qualify for, then they would upload in our portal and our system would pick it. So maybe that lag can take a month or so, and that could be affecting the students. But we are going to improve this year. We are going to talk with COOPS so that we can improve that process.
When you say we're going to improve that process, Omar would want to know, it now takes a month. He says it takes 3 months. What are you estimating that it's going to take? Are you able to give us a shorter time frame, or we give you time to think about it?
I think it's even engineering has been done where COOPS, I'm sorry, I'm talking on behalf of COOPS, have availed the transfer module to the universities. I don't know whether the Vice Chancellors can confirm that. So now you don't have to send documents to COOPS. The Vice Chancellors would log in and effect the transfer there, and they validate in real time.
As a way of managing that losing of time?
Yes.
Can a Vice Chancellor confirm whether that is the case, one who has experienced such a case? Where is the Vice Chancellor? Yes, there is a mic behind you.
Your Excellency, my name is Professor Biambo, Vice Chancellor, Meru University. I would like to confirm that that is true. We can now transfer online, and it's done real time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Why should the whole fee reflect instead of the household? Just hold on, Omar. I'm still answering your questions, just to Lisa Boli kidogo. Omar is asking why should the whole fee reflect, all he wants is the fee to reflect on what the household is supposed to contribute. I think initially the letters that went out had the full fee, the cost of the course, and that is what brought a lot of confusion. The ministry then instructed, and I think the PS can speak to this. Yes, PS.
Your Excellency, there had been a lot of confusion in terms of what the students contribute in terms of fees as compared to the actual cost of the programs. So we thought it was important to share this information so that students can appreciate that a course like medicine, for example, is 612,000, but the government is shouldering a portion of this cost of the program, and the households only pay a certain amount. But Your Excellency, we've been in conversation, and when we realized that was a problem, we withdrew the letters, and we have released new letters that just indicate the amount for the household to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think initially, Omar, what the point was, you know, sometimes people don't appreciate where we're coming from. I think so there was an attempt to say, okay, this costs so much. The government is going to pay so much. You're going to get loan of so much. And the household is going to pay so much. Unfortunately, many people misunderstood that and said, okay, the cost costs 600,000, that's what I'm supposed to pay. And that's what brought confusion. So I think subsequently the letters were withdrawn, and now it's only showing what the household is supposed to contribute. You have said about Naivasha that there was a problem in Naivasha, that you guys were in Naivasha, and I think there were some agreements that maybe were misrepresented. I was not aware. I was briefed by the team that was in Naivasha. It was a place to explain, for students to appreciate. Do you want to say something as the team leader who was in Naivasha? These good guys are saying you said what they did not agree.
Your Excellency, one of the issues they raised is that they wanted the MTI reviewed, and that's why we put in place the task force in which we have representatives from the Higher Education Loans Board, Universities Fund, Vice Chancellors, as well as lecturers with specialist expertise, and they have been working on that MTI. So one of the issues that should be very clear is that we do not usually use the raw scores. So if, for example, you have 9 dependents, or 5, or 2, or 3, all of these have a weight. And that weight is usually determined by a very random group. So HELP will put a group of students, lecturers, parents, members of the community, church, and they decide how do you think this variable is important in determining the capacity of a family. And so these weights are then looked at scientifically, and in the end, all of these are put into a composite kind of variable that is determined with a mathematical model. And we have all of this. It will be published so that all the stakeholders can look at it and tell us where they think this model can be improved. So that is some of the work that we started undertaking after the Naivasha retreat.
Thank you very much. So there was some input from Naivasha on how to take this forward. The other issue that has been, who decides how much it costs? These are empirical figures. It is not somebody from the blues who says this costs so much. There is a calculation of the input into the cost. The vice chancellors here are with the leadership of the universities. They know how to determine how much which course costs. Can one of the vice chancellors help me with how you arrive at the cost of a course? Professor Odhiambo, again.
Thank you very much. When a student comes to university, say to do medicine or engineering, look at a course like Introduction to Electronic Engineering, then you'll have to put a teacher that is going to teach that course. And you'll have to compute how much you are going to pay that teacher, maybe within 45 or 50 hours. There will be a technologist, a technician. Again, you'll pay that person. There will be the need of equipment that are going to be used. You'll have to cost them. The students will go for practicum or practica. They'll go for industry experience, and the teachers will have to follow them. You have to cost all this. Of course, there are other things like the electricity and all the rest. Now, the sum total of this will inform you the cost of running that course. And that is how we get, now for that engineering, perhaps there are 15 units in a year or in a semester. So once you get all that, you have the total cost. Maybe it come to 280, maybe it come to 612, maybe it come to, like it is a financial mathematician who was there, maybe it come to around 275,000 for financial engineering. That's how you get it, and that's what now become the cost of that program. Thank you, sir.
So there is an empirical determination of these courses and how much it costs, and we just have to be realistic to it, that is what it is. There is no benefit in assuming that this course costs so much just by assumption. It has to be calculated and it has to be determined scientifically. Cluster points for private and public universities, my small sister here, Karen, said that some of the cluster points for public universities are a bit high. So sometimes you end up in a private university, which I don't know whether you applied for or you did not. Maybe you did not apply for. And therefore, you end up in a situation where you are asked to pay more because this is a private university and there is no scholarship. All you can get is a loan. So how do we determine that? Do we have anybody from KUPS who can help me answer this question, or somebody knowledgeable around there? Nobody is there. I will take it as homework. Yes, maybe my peers there can help me.
Professor Mugendi is the chair of that cluster work at the KUPS, so he can speak to the cutoff points.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yes, I am the chair of placement committee at KUPS. And indeed, because of the way clustering is done, sometimes you might want, a student may want a course in one university, but they are not able to get it because their cutoff points are lower. And that's why that question from the concerned lady was, she said that maybe she got a C+, but then she could not be able to get appropriate courses in public universities, because maybe most of those courses then that she wanted, the cluster points were higher than what her cluster point was, and therefore she ended up in a private university. But for private university, again, Your Excellency, the student must have chosen to go to those universities. They are not just placed there. There's normally a box where you tick that maybe if you don't get this course in public universities, you are also willing to go to private universities. So there is always that choice. And I think, again, if the person would really want to come to public universities, there are still courses that are available that just require the minimum university entry, but they may not be courses of the prime courses that they wanted. But anybody wanting to go to public universities and they have a C+, Your Excellency, they will not be denied, because the universities are there and there are programs that are linked to take them. Thank you.
Let me also tell Karen that KRA is not the only parameter we use. So this Maasai fellow with 100 cows, and there's no provision for what is your tribe in the whole thing. So there's no place for Maasais there. So the other parameters are there. Which school did you go to? Which primary school did you go to? You also registered under the education system. Are both your parents alive? You know, there are so many other parameters that eventually determine the classification. So even though you may not have some of your details in KRA, there are other parameters that contribute to the banding. So I think that is what informs the whole setup. My friend Tarus has given us a classic example of dentistry. Dentistry is the most expensive course. I don't know why you chose the most expensive course. To make your point, I guess, that this dentistry is a course that we have, universities have said it costs 730-something thousand. So this is a course that is fairly expensive because of all the reasons that we've been told by Professor Odhiambo there, the delivery of the course. And what are we going to do to make sure that we don't lock out children from vulnerable backgrounds from this course? We have to strike a balance between teaching the course at all, because we actually run the risk, Mr. Tarus. If we continue the way we are continuing, we run the risk of not teaching that course at all, or having a half-baked dentist, because we have made him to pass exams, and yet we haven't trained him enough. So that's a balance we have to strike. And you remember when we engaged, I told you this is an area of improvement that we may consider. What about the expensive courses? How do we have a ceiling on making sure that those coming from vulnerable backgrounds have a ceiling that does not exceed what they can pay? But let me also say the following, Mr. Tarus. You also know that students in Band 1 get an upkeep of 60,000, up from 52,000. Students in Band 2 get 55,000 as upkeep. We have also raised the upkeep for all the categories, because we also know that some of these students from these vulnerable backgrounds, they sometimes contribute to their own education if they have sufficient resources coming out of the student upkeep. And these are some of the nuances that we have to think about. The trade-off we have to make is, do we continue with a model that has put our universities under very severe strain and almost collapsed our education system, or do we improve it? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Do we continue with a system that has the potential of collapsing all our universities, the vice chancellors, you've heard them say, or do we improve it? I would suggest respectfully that we improve it. And this is the way to improve it. And this conversation is part of what will inform how to improve it. And I want to encourage you as comrades, if I may, to be part of this improvement, to be part of these suggestions on how we are going to improve this system. whether it is students doing medicine, as Tarusa said, or engineering or nursing, we must make sure that it improves and make sure that our education does not suffer what it has suffered so far. Does the appeals work? You know, if you appeal, do you have a chance of ever getting it right? I know I have seen in the media sometimes cases of people who have asked that they were put in the wrong bands. But there are cases of some of those students who were put in the wrong bands, who have made their appeal, given the correct information, and they have been put in the correct band. Are there such cases, for example, in this hall, if we have any who may want to say their bit who are in this hall? Because I remember there was Josiah from Kisii, and he made a very passionate, are you Josiah? Okay, you wanted to say something? Just hold your horse. Or do we have any other student who made an application and was given a chance to appeal? Yes, my friend? Are you among those who appealed? Yes? Okay, give him the mic. Let's hear what his story was.
So nili-apply nikawekwa band 3, nikafanya appeal, nikawekwa band 2.
What was the issue, for example? Were you told what the issue was?
I wasn't told, so tuliambiwa
to reapply. And you reapplied. Who initially, how had you applied? Who had applied for you?
I applied through the cyber and I filled out the details correctly. And then during the appeal, you have to write a better reason as to why you're appealing.
And then you were reconsidered?
I was reconsidered and placed in band 2.
So how long did it take?
Like a week.
A week? Yeah. 1 week? Okay. There are some other people who have applied. There are others who have taken in some of our suggestions, and we have seen them progress. Now, good people, I am told it is 10 p.m., 10:10, and we had time up to 9 what? What was our cutoff time? 9:15. So we are an hour late. So let me conclude by saying the following, that I have listened very carefully to, yes, my friend, you have something to say? Give him the mic.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity to talk. So my question was about my institution there at TUK. So when you were coming to launch the S block at the Technical University of Kenya, you told us that there was the land that is behind the Kenya Poly, that is the Technical University of Kenya. You told us that that land belongs to us, and nowadays I see that land is used as a parking space by some people we don't even understand. So can you clarify how that land went? Because we will occupy that land as from tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chancellor, I think we have the Vice Chancellor of TUK here. Can you confirm what the situation is with that piece? Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Vice Chancellor from Technical University of Kenya. Your Excellency, you gave us that land, and we have been following the due process to get the documentation. I told my students not to occupy the land because we need to have the title deed so that we do the right thing. And I want to appreciate that, Your Excellency, my student led by my president who is here, Alex, we've been talking to them. It's true, there's a team that made a fence and they started parking there. And the students say that the president said this is our land. And we have written letters even to your office through the head of public service to that effect. And we are waiting to get the response. So kindly don't occupy. We are going to get the title deed so that we do it right in the right way.
Where is the CS for education? Is Machogu, my friend is my friend Julius here? Julius, you have an assignment. Please make sure that you talk with your colleague at the Ministry of Lands to make sure that that piece of land is, justice is done, and that my good friend doesn't have to go to occupy. And we can give them the title, and not just the title. We can actually, using our housing fund facility, we can help them put up some hostels if that is what the university want. So I'm sorry that we have to call it a day because it is okay. Let me end with this girl. She has really put up a strong case.
All protocols observed, itikati zote zikiwa zimezingatiwa. My name is Honorable Sang Linda Chepkoech from the Strathmore Law School. And Mr. President, I must put down my book to say something. It has always been my dream to meet the president. And today, I've met you, but keep quiet, I want to say something, eh? Mr. President, when you entered this hall, I was watching your steps. And when we came in here, we could see there are seats that are white. You've worn, beginning from your coat, you've worn white, and at the end, it's white. So from far, starting point and to the end, you are wearing all white. Mr. President, it means peace. Please, look into this new funding model. Mr. President, look into it 3 times, look into it, and ensure it favors everyone. Most of us here are from vulnerable backgrounds. We are just in some schools because of purposes and because of our mouths. Mr. President, look into it. Please, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear. Thank you. So I think let us let's leave it there. I know the ladies want to say something, but because of time, what maybe we could agree on a way forward. And let me suggest one, that this has been a very healthy conversation. I must say that you have enriched my thinking. You have given ideas that give a suggestion on the way forward. I value every suggestion that has been made here. Many people here have given suggestions on how we can make it better. My good friend Junior here said that let us improve on what has been there, make it better so that our universities can move forward and all the students can look at the model positively. You have said that there are certain reconsiderations that have to be made. We have all the vice chancellors here, majority of them. We have my staff from the Ministry of Education. We have people from Higher Education Loans Board. We will take into account the issues you have raised. Beyond the funding model, you have told me about matters to do with fighting corruption. You have told me about how we create better representation for students in our universities. You have told me about all the other issues. They are very important issues to me, and I will look into those issues. Let me propose a round of applause for all those who gave wonderful suggestions. Tuwapige makofi. And to all the good guys who attended this, and forgive me those who did not have a chance to speak. I will make another occasion available for us to be able to engage on this model again. Asanteni sana. I wish you well. Take my greetings to your comrades and colleagues in your universities, and I wish you well and see you soon. Asante sana.
Why don't we put our hands together for His Excellency? Please, let's give him a round of applause. That's almost quite a number of hours right there. Your Excellency, thank you very much. I'll request that now.